Today, I transformed the Minecraft village from this to this. But in order to do that, I must collect enough resources. But as we can see, I'm all out of resources. So let's get to gathering the resources. And boom. And now that we've collected all of the resources, we can get to tearing down all of the houses. Now that all of the houses have been torn down, we can get to laying out the new houses. Ever have to give your virtual neighbors a surprise eviction notice? Let me know down below. Time to put in a smaller house now. Next, we are going to put in a hill for a mansion. All this hard work for nothing. At last, I'm tearing it down. Well, it turns out villagers weren't fan of hillside living. Who knew? There we go, all of the houses have been laid out. Now let's get to building up each individual house, starting here. And this house will be done in 3, 2, 1. Boom, there goes a house off the list. But as I began building the next house, I quickly ran into a problem. You see, while resource gathering, I thought I had grabbed enough raw copper. I ran out of copper very quickly into the building process. I ran into the wild to try and find caves to search for copper, but there was none in sight. Well, except a little bit. I searched and searched, but as the days passed, the copper search slowly came to an end. After finding diamonds randomly, I decided to end the search and returned to the now decimated village, ready to dive into transformation. Then I started working on the trading stands, the easiest part of the entire project. After finishing all 5 of the trading stands, I moved on to the smaller houses to the right of the trading stands. Oh, perfect timing for that tree to grow. Slowly but surely, I knocked the houses off one by one. Then during the construction of one of the houses, the roof decided to test my building skills. Ever have a building moment that you felt like solving a Minecraft Rubik's Cube? Share your block by block sagas in the comments. Next, I built up the 2 smaller houses, each designed for 1 villager living. The house featured windows on each side, and featured a nice copper flooring and a nice outside design that fit the style of the village. Some of these time lapses, I just did some random things, so don't mind them. The next house I built up was sort of a library type house, although not adding the inside in this episode. In a future episode, we could add a library to make it official. After finishing these houses, I took a step back and admired what I had just built. But there was still one more build to do. After having a long 10-second view of what I had just built, I moved on and got straight to work setting up the basic layout for the biggest and final house being added to the village. The mayor's office, where the mayor and many of his helpers live to run the everlasting expanding village. As I got to work, I quickly ran out of materials. This build was going to take up the majority of the resources, and the worst had happened. I ran out of resources, not even a quarter of the way into the build. This is also my first video of the new year, so Happy New Year, everyone. So I set out on an adventure to gather wood, deep slate sand, and a little bit of a cobblestone. About 15 minutes later, I returned with the resources to continue the project and fully finish off the first layer, until I again ran out of acacia wood. So I had to go out and gather more wood. I returned with stacks upon stacks of wood, enough to finish up the mayor's office. Minutes later, I got up onto the roof and finished off the last segment of the house. After finishing the new and what some would say upgraded village, I gave a little tour of all the enchanting place. A little too much stone, but overall not a bad build. Next was the house we ran out of copper on. The house had no doors like most of these houses, and there was a nice worn down copper flooring, along with a nice outside made out of deep slate bricks and acacia wood and glass. Next up, the trading stands. They were the easiest to build and overall turned out, I could say, okay. Next up, two smaller houses, perfect for one villager per house and were easy to make. Then the one big house, the Fletcher's house. Very nice design, but building it was a struggle. Personally, my favorite building of the village. Next up, the library house. Now the inside is nowhere near looking like a library, but in a future episode we will make sure there is one. And last but not least, the mayor's office. The biggest build and the most generic build design possible. And look inside, there's already a few visitors I can see. Well, that's all for today's episode. But next episode, we get to work on the next big project. If you would like to watch how my start to the series went, click the video to your left. But if you want to watch how I got full max armor, click the video to your right.